Europe could be just weeks from facing such a severe energy crisis that even flights may be canceled due to a lack of fuel. And here's something many people don't realize. Around 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, meaning any disruption there doesn't just affect one country, it affects the entire planet. And the question is direct. Did the world underestimate the risk of this war spiraling out of control? If this kind of content helps you understand what's really happening, make sure to like and subscribe because it truly helps and allows us to bring you even deeper analysis. Now, let's break down the real scenario. What's happening today is an extremely dangerous combination of war, global logistics, and energy dependence, with Europe right at the center of the impact. The International Energy Agency has already warned that the continent could face a serious aviation fuel shortage within weeks, potentially leading to flight cancellations. This isn't random. It's the result of a chain reaction that begins in the Middle East. The core of this crisis is energy flow. The Persian Gulf holds a massive supply of oil and natural gas that feeds multiple regions around the world, especially Europe. With the war and rising tensions, ship traffic has dropped significantly. Images shared by outlets like the New York Times show a clear contrast. Before, there was heavy tanker traffic. Now, ships are stopped, waiting for safe conditions to continue, and that changes everything. When ships stop, oil doesn't arrive. When oil doesn't arrive, refineries begin operating under constraints, and when that happens, fuels like jet fuel become scarce. That's the critical point that could lead to flight cancellations across Europe. It's not a lack of planes or demand, it's a lack of fuel. And more concerning, even if some ships are eventually cleared to pass, that would only delay the problem, not solve it, because normal flow would still be disrupted. Another factor making the situation worse is market behavior. A total blockade isn't even necessary to trigger a crisis. Risk alone is enough. Insurers raise costs, companies avoid dangerous routes, and operators reduce activity. This creates an indirect blockade, where the system slows down or freezes even without an official shutdown. At the same time, Europe is trying to avoid further escalation. Countries like France, the United Kingdom, and Italy have already signaled they do not want to enter a war with Iran, precisely because they understand it would worsen the energy situation. Instead, they are pushing for a diplomatic solution, and this is where an important factor comes in: pressure on Donald Trump. There is an expectation that the United States will play a central role in negotiating a ceasefire. However, there are internal contradictions. While Trump claims he intends to open the strait, parts of the government suggest the blockade could continue. This creates uncertainty and makes diplomatic progress harder. On the other side, Iran maintains a firm position. The country has made it clear it does not accept a temporary ceasefire. For Tehran, only a permanent agreement with real guarantees makes sense. It also demands respect for its sovereignty, including the right to use nuclear technology for peaceful purposes. This remains one of the main sticking points in negotiations. Another critical factor involves Lebanon. Iran conditions any progress on a broader regional ceasefire, including an end to attacks in the area. In other words, this is not just a bilateral conflict, it's a complex regional scenario with multiple actors involved. Meanwhile, China has entered the discussion by defending Iran's sovereignty and emphasizing the importance of keeping navigation routes open. This stance is strategic. China heavily depends on these routes for its energy and trade, so it has a direct interest in avoiding a prolonged disruption. This shows how the conflict has already gone beyond a regional issue and become a global one. In the middle of all this, time is the most critical factor. The longer the situation lasts, the greater the impact. Ships remain stalled, reserves shrink, and economic pressure builds. Europe is already feeling the effects, but if this continues, the impact could spread even faster. What we are witnessing is a global system highly dependent on specific routes being pushed to its limits. And when that system starts to fail, the effects are not isolated. They ripple across multiple sectors of the economy. In the end, the situation is clear. There is a diplomatic window, but it is under pressure. If there is no rapid progress, the risk of a broader energy crisis increases significantly. And this doesn't just affect governments or markets, it directly impacts people's daily lives. Now I want to hear from you. If energy supply is disrupted for longer, do you think Europe can respond quickly? Or could this turn into an even bigger global crisis? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next updates.